7, complete the square.
This is easy. I sure hope.
It is, but people tend to get it wrong.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So what, is completing the square just like you're drawing like 3 sides?
No.
Aww.
Alright, so there were not specifically notes for this, but there is one little thing, but it's not worth like even giving you a video for, so that's why I didn't. So my catchphrase for completing the square is half the middle term squared. Will do you well to memorize those 5 words. So if I have x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 and I'm solving it, notice it has to have a 1 in front of the x squared. If it was a negative 1, we can factor out a negative from everything to get it to look like this, but just be aware that it has to just be a positive 1 in front for us to do this. Then what happens is I have x squared plus bx plus, I'm going to draw a box. I'm actually going to draw it in a different color.
Whoa.
Equals
That's
negative c plus a box.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because whatever I do to one side, I've got to do to the other.
I like box.
So whatever this is something that you can't factor. This wasn't factorable as it was. So you move that constant term c over. So you changed the sign. So since it was plus, we moved it over by subtracting it. And then I added a box to both sides. What I'm trying to produce is a perfect square trinomial. So what I do is I look at what is this term right here. Well, this is a b. This is where we half the middle term squared. Just the number. So in this box, I would put b over 2 squared. And I would always write whatever that number is in that way where it's like whatever. Now, obviously, if it's like 4 is b, then I would write it as 2 squared. Okay? But I do it that way so that I can see my perfect square trinomial. What we do to one side, we do to the other side. So I also have b over 2 squared going on this side. A lot of times on this side, I'll go ahead and actually square it and get the number that it is instead of writing it this way. But that's just a preference thing just to make it go faster.
How do we get the 2? Or is it just like part of the process?
What's the half the middle term?
Oh.
Now, I could show you a lengthy proof as to why this works and where you get this from, but you probably don't want to know.
I
So
trust it.
just trust the process. So then what happens from here is I end up with x, whatever the sign of the middle term is, in this case it's plus, whatever is being squared. So b over 2, all squared. That's your perfect square trinomial that's produced from this part right here. Okay, and to answer your question about the half, because the middle term of a perfect square trinomial is 2 times the first term times the last term.
Okay.
So to undo the 2 that's in the middle, we divide by 2. Is equal to, and then I obviously don't have numbers here, so I can't do anything other than just rewrite it this way. But this would end up becoming just like a whole number, or well, it might not be a whole number, it might be a fraction, but. And then at that point, what we would do is we would take the square root of both sides, add or subtract this over, bam, we solved for x. So it's not hard, but if you don't remember this process of putting it on both sides, you're most likely going to get it wrong.
So what's the significance of the box?
So that I know where I'm putting stuff.
Okay.
And that way I make sure that I fill in the box. I don't take off if you don't put the box.
Okay.
I will always put the box though.
Okay.
Now, some problems that we're going to do are going to already be set up that we don't have to do this. This is like my first thing is I see if I can factor it. If I can't factor it, then I'm going to go to see, hey, can I complete this square? Does it meet the requirements for me to complete the square? Is there a 1 in front of x squared? If there is, I'm going to use this method. And then what we'll get, and I think it's 4.8, is, okay, I can't complete the square because there's a number in front of x squared. So the other option is the quadratic formula, which is just a lot longer to solve. So that's why we like this method. Once you figure out completing the square and you're good at it, this will be your preferred method over the quadratic formula. Not over factoring. Factoring is always going to be easier. But anyways. All right. And you should have seen this in Algebra 1, but it's like a lot later in the year, and you probably got every single problem wrong
Probably.
to start with when you did this.
Algebra 1
It's
was
a
not my
because a lot of people don't understand it, but at some point in Algebra 2, it's like the light bulb comes on and you're like, oh, I understand it now. And mostly because you're seeing it for the second time, even if you don't remember that you've already seen it before. You look like you're going to say something.
No.
Okay. So if you're like, man, I did really bad with this in Algebra 1, just have some confidence. You'll be okay.
The light bulb hasn't come on yet.
Well, we haven't done a problem yet. I just wrote the formula for you.
You did
Maybe,
great with that.
maybe the light bulb.
Proud of you.
I saw the formula.
All right, so ultimately what's happening here is we're using square roots then once we do this first step of setting it up to finish solving it, which is why we started with square roots previously. So these first problems say to solve the equation by finding square roots. Essentially, all of these are already set up that they have completed the square in a sense for you. It's already a perfect square trinomial on the left, and we're just solving it. So we're not actually going to be doing that process for a couple problems here. So number 4. X squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 64. Now, the other thing is you can't complete the square unless it's like equal to something. Just obviously, like I said, we're not actually completing the square on this one, but. So my first step, I'm never going to just start out by completing the square unless the instructions tell me I have to complete the square. Then that's really unfortunate. But my first thought is always going to be, can I factor this? Yes, this is a perfect square trinomial. This term is squared. This is 5 squared. This is 2 times 5 times x. So this is a perfect square trinomial. So that means that this factors into x plus 5 squared equals 64. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Don't forget when you do this that we have two answers. We have plus or minus. So I'm going to have x plus 5 equals plus or minus, well, the square root of 64 is 8. Now, with these problems, pretty much in every situation, unless whatever this is going to stay in a square root, you're going to have to split this up to be x plus 5 equals 8 or x plus 5 equals negative 8 to solve these.
A bunch of my hair came out with elastic, and I wanted to throw it away.
So, subtract 5, I get x is equal to 3, or subtracting it over here, x is equal to negative 13.
I think it clicked.
X plus 5
I remember this now.
8. X plus 5. Oh, or equals 8. Or x. Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, now I do.
X equals 3.
All right, another one, x squared minus 18x plus 81 equals 5. All right, so again, these ones, it just says to solve by finding square roots. So my first thing is, can I factor this? What would it factor into?
X minus 9 squared.
Yep. X minus 9 squared. Middle term is 2 times the first term times the last term, so it's a perfect square trinomial. We take the sign of the middle here. All that squared is equal to 5. Now I get x minus 9 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. Just like we were doing in the previous sections, if I can take something out of a radical, I should. Obviously, I can't in this one. So I can leave this one together and just say x is equal to 9 plus or minus the square root of 5. If you want to write it separately, you would make college professors very happy. They would tell you that what I've written isn't even a true statement because it can't be both positive and negative at the same time. And when I started teaching, I was like really adamant about splitting them. It's just excessive. Don't worry about it. But if you take college math, your professor's probably going to yell at you if you write it that way. You're probably going to have to write it twice. It's up to you. I don't care. All right.
There are any non-crow pieces back there.
Addie.
Sorry. Sorry. Just
Okay. The next problems want us to find C. So they're working us up to actually fully completing the square. So these ones, they give us a problem, x squared plus 12x plus c. And we're finding C such that it makes the expression a perfect square trinomial. So I'm not actually completing the square. I'm just figuring out what this term would be in order to complete the square. Okay, to create a perfect square trinomial. So C is half the middle term squared. So this is going to be 12 over 2 squared. Obviously, we know that that's 6, but I'm writing it this way so we can see it. So 6 squared is 36, so that is our C value. Then it wants us to take that and write the expression such that it's the square of a binomial, which is what you get from a perfect square trinomial. So that would be x plus 6 squared. So you're looking for both of those pieces of information. So they do this to work you up to it. Obviously, you need to know that whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other when we get to solving it. But this is just like the initial process of working to it.
You don't say things are easy.
Comments to yourself.
And a lot of times, I'm going to give you one like this on the quiz or the test so that you can make sure. So just make sure you pay attention to all the instructions of what it's asking you for. 16x squared minus 30x plus c. So, half the middle term squared, so 30 over 2 squared. It's 15 squared, which is what?
Fraction.
15 squared is a fraction?
No, like it's 225.
225.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking the square root for a second. I'm like, what?
You should be sorry.
I was like, what? All right, so then I need to write it as the square of a binomial, which is what comes from a perfect square trinomial. So how would I write it?
X plus 15 minus 15 squared.
Yep. So always watch the sign of your middle term is what the sign is that goes in here.
I told you
20 x squared minus 13x plus c. All right, so this one is an odd number in here, so this one's going to be a little different, so I wanted to do this one. So c is equal to
6.
13 over 2 squared. Don't make it a decimal.
Oh. Then,
As a fraction, then, if I square the top and square the bottom, what's 13 squared?
169 over 4.
Yep,
Good
169
job.
over 4. So this value right here, if I was doing this as a completing the square, I would plug in 13 over 2 here for C and then write the little square, obviously. On the other side of my equation, I would write 169 over 4. We're not using decimals, we're using fractions.
okay.
But you can write it this way in both places, but I would definitely write it this way over here because this is where it's going to produce your perfect square trinomial.
Okay.
So then this would be x minus 13 over 2 squared.
X minus 13.
Okay. Now we'll get into our actually completing the square. Now, the other thing I will tell you is that sometimes these problems end up with i's in them, so complex numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, because sometimes the way that things work out on the right-hand side, when I go to take the square root, it's the square root of a negative number, so that's where this is also combining this stuff in there. Now, I don't tell you that because this next problem has that. I'm just saying in general it can, so don't be alarmed if you see that. Just make sure you take the I out. Okay, so we're actually going to solve by completing the square. A lot of times you'll have problems on your quiz or your test that'll say to just solve the equation, you choose your method. If it says you have to solve by completing the square and you don't complete the square, you don't get credit for it. So make sure you pay attention to the instructions. X squared plus 4x equals 10. So this problem did not already have the 10 on the left side. It had it starting on the right, so I don't need to move it over. But when a problem is set up this way, I like to go ahead and just leave a little gap there so that I can add my box. And remember, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. That's part of why I do the boxes, so that I can see that I have a box on both sides. All right, so we half the middle term and we square it. So half of 4 is 2. So in this box, I would write 2 squared. Now, what I was trying to explain earlier, it'll be easier to see now, is rather than writing it as 2 squared over here, a lot of times I will go ahead and write it as 4. If you want to still write it as 2 squared over here, you can. If you want to write this as 4, you can. I like it this way on the left because that helps me with seeing my perfect square trinomial. So, over here, this factors into x plus 2 squared is equal to 14. And then now I can proceed with what I was doing in the previous sections of take the square root of both sides. So x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 14. Can 14 be broken down?
No.
Yeah, well, 2 and 7, but nothing can come out. So I can just leave it that way. I just need to subtract the 2. So x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 14. And that would be your final answer. Whoa. Sideways box. Okay, there we go.
Has that disco ball been there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been
Okay.
since
Alright.
grade.
Alright. Did you just notice it?
Yep.
Wow.
For years.
Alright.
You're so observant.
Thanks, man.
26. X squared minus 18x plus 86 equals 0. Alright, so in general, if this didn't tell me I had to complete the square, my first thing would be to see if I can factor this. So if I could find factors of 86 that give me negative 18. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't, but even if it did, I still would have to complete the square because that's what the instructions say to do. So the first thing I need to do is subtract the 86 over to this other side. So I'm going to have x squared minus 18x. I'm going to go ahead and add my box as I'm going is equal to negative 86 plus a box.
Is it always plus box?
Yep.
Okay.
Never minus box.
Plus box.
All right, in the box, we half the middle term and we square it. So what would be going in this box?
81?
Well, 9 squared.
Yep, 9 squared or 81. So like I said, I normally write the whatever the value is squared on the right-hand side, but that's purely a preference. You can do it however you want. So what does this factor into now that I've done this on this side?
X minus 9.
Yep, x minus 9 squared equals negative 5. You can just- I feel like it's been slamming a lot more recently, even when like you don't even touch it. It just like literally there was one day, like I think it was last week, that I had like 5 people like slam the door, including myself, and I literally just tapped it with a finger. Like that's all I did, and it was just like wham. I was like ugh. One day I did on purpose do it because the kids outside were being loud.
You get used to it.
Then I heard a sorry.
I have a lot.
It's like go to class.
Oh, don't worry. It's like every day.
All right, so at this point, I now have this. My next step is to take the square root, but what do you notice?
It's going to be a square root of a negative.
So
Yep,
that means you gotta take
plus
the
or minus
I
the
out.
square root of negative 5. So that means I need to take the I out. Normally we put the I at the end when we do it, but a lot of times in these, so that it doesn't look confusing, I actually write it in front of the square root. So I would say x equals 9 plus or minus I square root of 5, but they're not as picky with these about standard form. when you have that. But if you want to keep to standard form and you want to write the I over here, just make sure that it's clear that it's not under the radical. But up to you. I
It
don't
doesn't matter which side you put it on?
know. I usually put it in front so it doesn't look like it's underneath.
Alright.
But that's just a preference, personal preference. It doesn't say standard form. So if the ones we were doing like yesterday, they like say in the instructions it has to be in standard form.
It comes out all right.
That's disgusting.
He's blowing his nose.
Oh.
That's what my mom says when we go to the bathroom.
Well, if he would have had to ask to the bathroom, so.
Well, that's why I was like, is he just leaving or?
No.
28, 2k squared plus 16k equals negative 12.
Okay.
Can have any variable, it doesn't matter.
Not really.
Plus box?
No plus.
Minus the.
What did I say has to be true about the form that these are
The
in?
front has to be a 1.
Is this a 1?
No.
No, so it's not.
Not
So you have to use
possible.
the
So then I said we need to see if we can take something out. I need to see if I can factor something out.
Ew.
I can take a 2 out of everything, so I'm going to just show that really quick. So k squared plus 8k on this side is equal to negative 12. We would then divide by the 2. That's technically what's happening. So k squared plus 8k, Addie,
Yes.
plus a box, equals, over here, negative 6. So 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. And then plus a box
What is this box?
for
It's a
completing
box.
the square.
Trust in the
I like box.
All right, what goes in my box?
Just like
Explain it later.
4 squared.
16. Hey,
They're the
don't
same.
pick names.
It's half the middle term squared. It's my 5-word catchphrase.
How did we get 16? Oh, 16.
4 squared, yeah. You can write it as 16 in both boxes or 4 squared in both boxes. I just usually write it this way because we're trying to produce a perfect square trinomial.
Whenever I have a
So that it
power,
looks
I'd be
like
this,
that
My dad would grab my lip
when I'm done.
and like pull it.
All right, so I have k plus 4 squared equals 10.
No.
Take the square root of both sides. K plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 10. Can I take anything out of that?
No.
No.
Nope, because it's just 2 and 5. Yep.
Good job, Cooper.
What are you waiting? You calling something?
No.
There you are.
You'll be okay.
All right, one more.
Give us a
32.
negative.
7t squared plus 28t plus 56 equals 0.
Walk that T.
Huh?
Subtract 56.
Factor out the
Factor out the 7.
Oh.
Yeah, I would factor out the 7 first and then subtract. You technically can do it either way. You're going to get the same thing, but I would take it out first. So take out the 7. I have t squared plus 4t plus 8 equals 0. Now, when I divide by 7, 0 divided by 7 is?
0.
Sometimes people try to write other things, so that's why I'm just making
Wow.
sure we know.
I hope.
So I have t squared plus 4t plus 8 equals 0. Now, I need to, even if this can be factored, I'm supposed to complete the square. It's what the instructions say, so I'm going to move this 8 over. So I have t squared plus 4t plus box
What was it?
equals negative 8
Plus box.
plus box. Yep. So half the middle term squared, half of 4 is 2, 2 squared, or you can write it as 4, or you can do it like I do and write it 2 different ways. So then over here, t plus 2 squared equals negative 4. So now take the square root of both sides. T plus 2 equals plus or minus. I'm going to still write it as the square root of negative 4 for the moment. I can change that now. I can take out an I, and the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and split this into 2. Oh, actually, I don't need to split it. Never mind. Disregard. I don't need to split this one. So this is going to be t plus 2 equals plus or minus 2I. And then I can move this 2 over. So t equals negative 2 plus or minus 2I. The reason I started to say I need to split it is because I forgot it had an I in it. If it didn't have the I, like if this was a positive 4 instead, then I would obviously need to have 2 separate answers because it would have given me, when I move stuff around. So make sure you watch that. If it has a radical, obviously you can leave it as plus or minus. If it has an I, you can leave it as plus or minus, but otherwise you'll need to split it. Did we have one that was like that?
Like one of the first ones.
We did not.
So we should do.
Trying to find one.
Yes.
Oh, that's because there aren't any.
Yay.
Sometimes that happens. Typically, if it works out, then you could have factored it to begin with, which is why it's like that. But anyways, that would be your answer. All right. Any questions? All right. Make sure you pay attention to what the instructions are asking you, so that you make sure you're doing the right process. So 5, 11, 15, 19, 25,
Person in the world. So
Really?
27, and 33. So, not a ton. You only have 3 that you actually have to complete the square on. If you're struggling with this concept, or if you do these and you're like, I'm not getting them right, I would look over it again and then try to go back and do a few more, but I'm not going to make you do a ridiculous amount of them if you don't need to.